if you are watching this, please share it. It's about Chris. You may have seen a video. I'll turn around because some people sound like they're just about to come in here. They might not want to be on camera. So this is about Chris. You've just seen a video we've just put out. Now, Chris was in the Navy for 34 years. I just want to give you some details of what's gone on there. Because it's unbelievable. When I've gone and met them and heard this story, Chris has served for 34 years, and 18 months before the end, well, 18 months ago, he had a stroke. Now, rather than medically discharge him, when it was clear that he wouldn't be able to work again, Chris can't use his whole left side of his body still now. He'll probably never regain the feeling in his left leg or his arm. He can't speak. He can say 2 or 3 words. He cannot speak. Now, rather than medically discharge him, what they did is, after 6 months of being in that position, they dropped him down. So he was a chief. For the last 8 years, he was a chief. That was his pay grade as a chief in the Navy. They dropped him down to a petty officer so that he's on less pay. So then when they finish him, they sat him in a pretty much vegetable state in his military home. He sat there for 18 months. He just sat there. Well, for the last 6 months, riding out the contract, rather than medically discharge him, they just let him sit there. So then when it comes to being when it comes to the end of his time, he gets his pension. He gets the pension of a petty officer, not the pension of a chief, which he should have been. He gets the pension of a petty officer. Now, if you're medically discharged, you don't pay tax on your pension. Now, in a situation like this, when a man served 34 years for the Navy, for our country, when such a devastating situation he's come into, you think they'd go over every way they can to help, everything they can to make it the best for him. No, no, not all. And after doing this, there's another thing they do. After doing this, he has his final day. He's still employed now in the Navy, still sat there now in the Navy. He has his final day coming up, 26th of October. So the uniform that he's wore for the last 8 years is that of a chief. They rang up his missus and said, "You'll have to cut the buttons off. You'll have to cut the buttons off of your uniform because you're a petty officer now." Now, when she's told Chris this, because Chris is still in it up here, but hasn't got any movement, hasn't got any... So when Chris has been told, he's cried his eyes out. He's a proud man. He's finished the last 8 years as a chief, and you've just absolutely taken liberties with him. And then, when you talk... And then when it comes to housing, so I'll explain the housing situation to you. Chris owns a flat in Telford, okay? He's had it up for sale for 6 months. Bearing in mind, Chris can't do anything. He can't even speak. So trying to sort this situation out is pretty hard for him. And his wife, when I met his partner, Mandy, what they're going through, they don't need added problems, okay? So they've got this flat for sale. Now, if they didn't own this flat, then they'd be able to go to the local council and say, "We need housing." Okay, Chris is going to be disabled now for the rest of his life. Chris is in this situation for the rest of his life. So we need help. But because they own a flat, they can't do that. So they're trying to sell the flat. They have no equity in the flat. The flat's selling for £75,000. It's a 2-bed flat. Okay, it's on the 3rd floor. Now what they're telling him is, go to your flat. He can't walk. He cannot walk. You expect a man who's in this situation, whose only support base, bearing in mind he needs support full time. He keeps saying he wants to kill himself. His only support is in Portsmouth, where he lives, where his family are, where his partner is, where their kids are. It's in that area that he needs his support base. But they say, no, go up and go to Telford on the 3rd floor of a flat. And he can't do that, and he shouldn't have to do that. Now he's trying to sell the flat. Now, rather than the military, rather than the Navy be considerate about this, they're evicting him. So whilst his wife's got, while him, his partner and his family have got all this going on, they then get a letter saying you're going to be evicted from your home on this date. And then the Navy, then they come around and say, "Oh, well, look, we'll let you stay another couple of months. Yeah, we'll let you stay another couple of months. But you can't stay there in military rate. You're now civil rate. So you're now paying you double what you were paying." Okay? So now you have to look at his pension. So if he was on a pension of a chief, it's more, but he's on that now of a petty officer. So if his pension is, say, £1,000 a month, and he has to pay tax on that, yeah? So he's getting, what, £800 a month as a pension. He's got to cover the mortgage. His rent that the military now want to charge him is more than that. His rent's now more than that. His rent's now more than his pension. His rent, but if he would have been given the pension of a chief, and the pension would not have been taxed because he would have been medically discharged, he would have got further support and further help. And you know what? After 34 years of service for your country, you don't treat someone like that. You cannot treat someone like that. Now that's why, if you've watched the video, I'm asking, there's a meeting now on the 16th of this month. And in that meeting are going to be the top brasses from the Navy. And it's a meeting that he and the person in charge of his situation, they're all going to be having. Now they need to reverse what they've done. The only reason they give for why he wasn't medically discharged, because there's a backlog. Because there's a backlog. Well, that's not his problem, is it? That's not his problem, there's a backlog. What, so he ends up worse off for the rest of his life? And you know what? You know, I'll meet the family, I'll meet the man, and it's so disheartening. It's so frustrating. And I'm going off on a rant now, because it's an absolute liberty what's happened to this man. He gives 34 years service for our country, and then when he needs help more than anything else, he's given the boot and stuck out on the scrap heap. And not just that, you cause him further psychological problems by telling them you're making him homeless. And you know what? Do you know when I met his missus? Do you know what I said to her? And this is where the problem comes with all the people. I'm reading some people under the message of what they're saying under the video. It's going to, another sub story. Oh, someone wants money. When I met them, I first sat there, and after hearing her story and hearing how worried she was, how worried they are about being homeless, I said to her, I said to her, I assure you, if you get booted if they think they're booting you from your home in January and you've got nowhere to go, I guarantee you we'll find you a year's money for a home. I guarantee you, until your flat sells, until you're in a situation where you can go to the council and get a home, I guarantee you we'll house you. I guarantee you the people at home will house you. I guarantee you the British public will support that. Now, that was the first thing I thought about doing. But then I thought, you know what? Because the backlash all the time, the people moan all the time. Oh, look. Do you know what I mean? So then we've gone with a petition. And the reason for the petition is so that we can try, first of all, to let the Navy sort out the problem. Try to let the Navy see they're wrong. Try to let them see how they should have helped this man. And try to see that they medically discharge him and give him everything that he's earned. He's earned that. He's earned that. How many other people is this happening to in the military who are just being treated like this? And you see the man and sit in his home and sit in his home. He's still living in a military home now. His base is still in a military home now. And they're still in there, and it's just outrageous. But if I can ask you, if you're angry by that, if it's annoyed you, if frustrated you, sign a petition. There's a petition we've got. It's on. I've just put the website on this. It's is it Save Chris, helpchris.co.uk, and he needs people's support. And do you know what? He hasn't even been able to argue any of this. Even when they dropped him down to a petty officer, he can't argue it because he can't speak, because he's in a vegetable state from a stroke. And they're just taking the piss out of him. They're taking the piss out of him, man. And so that's it. So if you can, sign a petition, because I'm gonna personally deliver that petition. And you see, if he's not given his medical discharge, which he's earned, which he deserves, if he's not given that, which will see him at a better position for the rest of his remaining life, no matter how difficult his life's already going to be, it's already going to be difficult. He deserves help, not things put in the way. And if he's not, and if they don't, then we'll start a campaign. We'll start a campaign. We'll start a campaign to help him, to support him, to get him what he needs. Do you know when he done, I believe, 10 months at Headley Court? And then because he's coming to the end of his time, because he wasn't medically discharged as well, because he's coming to the end of his time, he has to go into the civil then, yeah? Now, at Headley Court, his family said that the improvement they saw with speech therapy, with all the different things, the improvement they saw him improve him. Then they kicked him out. Then they told him you're out. And then he's gone back down. He shouldn't have that. He should have every bit of help he needs. He served our country for 34 years. Do you know what else? This is where it gets even worse. Do you know what I didn't tell you in that piece, in that video, because it was too short to let you know? He was stressed at work. Okay, he was stressed at work. So he was working in Liverpool. Now, he come back down to Portsmouth and explained about the stress and pressure he had at that position because there was someone giving him a very hard time. I'm not going to name no names, but someone giving him a hard time. He'd been bullied at work, yeah? So he's come down, he's explained the situation. He said, can I get a relocation? They didn't give him a relocation. 6 weeks later, he drops with a stroke. Do you know what they're saying? It wasn't work-related. It wasn't work-related. Of course it's work-related. The man was begging for a movement. But you didn't give him a movement. And then even after all of that, you don't hold your hands up. You don't give him any leeway. You just treat him like he just get out, leave, get out of the house, get out of the military, go. It's pissed me off. Anyway, sign it, share it. Watch the video. It's the video under this. It's on my linked one on the Facebook. Share it. And let's try and... I said, and so many people, I see them saying, oh, another sob story. Yeah, it is a sob story, because there's loads of sob stories out there. There's loads of people who need help out there. And it pisses... When I read comments under that, I just think, you scumbags. You haven't sat there with that family. You haven't had to sit there and listen to them, see them cry, see the man, see the son. Hear them. And you know what? There's right and wrong. And this is wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong what's happened to him. So again, if you can sign it, give it a sign, give it a share. Keep following, because I'm going to keep you up to date. I'm going to go there on the 16th, and hopefully the Navy, through the pressure, it's not through the pressure of me, it's through the pressure of you. Every one of you that signed that, it's another name. It's another name that they realise is not happy. It's another part of a campaign that hopefully they listen. So yeah, thank you anyway. But yeah, Chris needs your help, man. Chris needs your help.
Go to helpchris.co.uk.